Hello and welcome to the Space Between Ideas. I'm Blaine Gates. Today we have an exciting discussion to have. As we continue to work on this idea of shaping potential, we move on to the next category. So we are still within this idea that we're shaping potential. And what does it mean to shape potential? All right, so people who are oriented by the idea of shaping potential. It means that they are able to recognize resources. They can see time. They can see infrastructure. They can see money. They can see skills. They can see all of these different types of resources, the loyalties and reputations, and all of this social capital. All right, so they can see the value of things, and then they can see how these things can be put together. All right, they see a person who's smart, like we've been talking about before. All right, so they see someone who's sick, and they see the opportunity to enhance or maintain wellness. They see someone who's poor, and they see the opportunity to help that person to make money. They see a person who is what? They see a person who, if they're able to get some certification, that they would be able to do more in the business, in life. They see the opportunity, maybe somebody needs a little recognition. You know, sometimes someone might not be feeling very happy that they have created a bunch of things, but nobody really understands or nobody gives them credit. All right, so as you start to see how people are, or maybe there's somebody who wants to develop their reputation. They want to be known as a person who has a certain type of value that they present to the world. They want to be seen and known as a person who provides some kind of service to the people around them. They value these things. They want to be seen as this thing. They want to develop these ideas. All right, so they can see potential, and they come up with ideas for how to develop that potential. Or what we're talking about around motivation is people who can see, who they can recognize people who can be motivated by those purposes. All right, so this is a very powerful skill to have, to be able to see someone and to know by what they are motivated by, to see what are they trying to do, what are they made up of. All right, so some people, what do they want to do? So there's there's three, in the next sentence, there's three verbs and there are four nouns. So the first we'll go with, let's go with gain. All right, so gain. So we got what? We got gain resources. So it's an interesting idea, right? So over the last couple of days, I've been thinking about been thinking about politics, and I've been thinking about the idea of this idea of communism, socialist-oriented economies, and market-oriented economies. And I've been thinking about, what does it mean to be motivated by the stimulus? Like, look, we're talking about stimulus checks in America. This idea that what is the stimulus actually? It's money, right? So money is some form of stimulation. People who are promised money, they feel stimulated. They feel like, I need to go do something because I'm going to get that money. And that money is going to give them access to the things that they want access to. It's like a medium of exchange. So it gives them the opportunity to go and buy things. And people, they want stuff, right? So if you promise to give them something, if they provide some kind of value, then they're going to be stimulated. And then we're talking about, like, all right, so what is these socialist, communist ideas? It's the idea that it doesn't matter what value you put into the pot, you get the same amount of remuneration out of that pot. So it's just, you can see how, for some people, this is demotivating. It doesn't matter how much work I put into this, I'm going to get the same amount out. It just seems like it's kind of difficult. How do I, if I want to gain resources, like if you are motivated by gaining resources, then you're going to have a difficult time surviving in a communist state. Unless somehow you're like so powerful and so big that you're able to like see the big picture of bringing resources to everyone, and then you lift the entire society up. All right, so this is like Superman. All right, but usually people are able to raise their own value and the life, the living standards of the people who are closest to them. All right, so some people are motivated to gain resources, to gain methods. All right, so I mean, this is obviously one of my motivations. As I've been reading the book Create Crucial Insight by Thomas Buchholz, I have been motivated. I am motivated to understand how to do things differently, to understand how to gain methods, to understand how things work. I love to see how things work. And so that's why when I found these checklists, well, when Dr. Buchholz gave me a copy of his book, that's when I was like, this is like my, and for years and years, I've been just absorbing these methods because this is something that motivates me. Skills, right? Developing specific skills. Maybe you want to develop your ability to sing. Maybe you want to develop your ability to play the piano. Maybe you want to understand how to do day trading. Maybe you want to understand how to even drive a bus. Like some people are motivated to gain skills. So if you want to, like say you're working with a provider who is motivated to gain methods and skills, it means in the long run, if you are attach yourself to that provider, it's likely that you will continue to thrive as well. You'll continue to do well because the provider will be able to give you the newest form of what they provide. They will be able to give you access to the latest ideas, to the latest development, to the latest methods, to the latest skills. And so that's the thing, is like that brings us back to some of our previous discussions when you are trying to develop some scenarios and when you have made some different columns with all these different providers, and now you want to start to think about like, which one do I pick? And then you realize that like I got one guy who currently he is in the what? So he's into striving. Maybe he's not quite as successful as some of the other providers. He's working really hard, but he is motivated to gain resources, to gain methods, to gain skills, to gain knowledge. Okay, the last one is gain knowledge. So those are the four nouns: resources, methods, skills, knowledge. That means over the long run, it's likely that working with this provider may provide some kind of benefit. Like maybe you have the leader in the industry, but he doesn't seem to be motivated by this desire to gain methods, to develop his ability to work with new methods or to develop skills. And that means that this other provider, eventually, he's going to catch up and likely surpass because he has this desire to mold his potential, to work with his potential, to develop, to gain these skills. Now, all right, so the next one is create. All right, so gain, it's like, okay, so I can see a way where I can absorb resources. I see a way where I can earn resources, where I can develop methods, where I can understand and pull in methods, where I can develop skills, all right? And then on the other hand, some people they want to create resources. All right, so right now I'm trying to create this resource for you. So I'm reading this book, I'm recording this film, you're on YouTube, you're watching this video, and so this is a resource that I'm creating right now for you. And I'm motivated to create this resource. Creating methods. So, I don't know. I mean, like, am I trying to create new methods? Are you creating methods? Who's out there creating? So this is a really interesting thing, to be able to create new methods. It means that you understand, you have insight, you have this ability to see potential, you have some way of solving a problem, and you're able to use your skills, pull them in, create some new method in order to solve a problem. Create skills. What does that mean, to create skills? Create knowledge, all right? Create knowledge. So some people are doing research, they understand things deeply, they put those things together, and they create knowledge. All right, so we got gain, let's pull it in, create, mix it up, and then last one is deploy. So the third verb is deploy, the desire to deploy resources. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's get this. Let's get this book on the market. Let's get this method in the market. Let's get this product on the market. Let's get these guys working. Let's get this service going. All right, they want to deploy those resources. They want to deploy these methods. All right, we got a new method. All right, and that's what I'm trying to do right now. Let's deploy this method. And I'm working with people. I mean, right now we got, 15 people that I'm working with 15 people in order to deploy the methods in this book, Create Crucial Insight. All right, so they talk about the things that they're doing. They say, this is what's going on in my work world. And I say, it sounds good, sounds interesting. And these are the problems that we're trying to solve. These are the things we're trying to do. This is what's on my agenda. And then I say, okay, that sounds like you could benefit by a conversation about this thing that you're doing. That's right. All right, so let's use this checklist and let's deploy this method. All right, so for example, if you're trying to decide on some kind of course of action, we're going to deploy the state impact checklist. If you're trying to develop some kind of organizational cooperation, operational agreement, let's deploy that state teamwork checklist. If you are trying to figure out how to characterize the motivation and drive within a team or within a company, let's deploy that state drive checklist. If you are trying to understand the motivation behind the things that people are doing, all right, so let's deploy the state purposes checklist. And in the past, we've already gone through what? We deployed the state styles checklist. We looked at all those different styles, and then we had some conversations around how we could change some styles within the organization. All right, we had a discussion about the state inventiveness checklist. We talked about the different conversations that we can have in order to help us to innovate within our organization. We talked about the state synergies checklist, where we talked about all the different steps of creating a plan in order to do some activity or to deploy a product or a service. All right, we talked about the state synergies checklist, where we talked about the conversations around who are the providers, who are our customers. Is there some way that we can cooperate? How can we improve our service? What are we doing? Are there other synergies? All right, so we're deploying these methods. We're having these conversations in order to build a framework within the minds of these people that I'm talking to, and to help them light up these areas of their brain so that they're able to have appropriate conversations and go along an appropriate line of reasoning when working with problems and when creating solutions with insight. We talked about the state assumptions checklist. We deploy the state assumptions checklist so we can have a really great method for doing research, for thinking about research, for making sure we have enough research, for making sure that it is appropriately solving our problem, where we pull together that knowledge, where we create the insight, and when we make, and then we can see how much insight we're missing in order to make appropriate decisions. All right, so all these conversations are centered around deploying methods. All right, so then deploy skills. Obviously, if you have a plumber, you're deploying a skill. If you have a service-oriented business, you're deploying a skill. And knowledge, teachers, they're deploying knowledge. Trainers, coaches, all these different people. All right, so I hope that you got something out of our message today. I hope that you're able to deploy, gain, and create resources, methods, skills, or knowledge. I hope that you're able to succeed in all your endeavors based on the insights that you develop. And I hope that you can take the time to think through these different problems and find appropriate solutions. This has been Space Between Ideas. I'm Blaine Gates.